Hi everyone, it's Steph and welcome to another video. As a recent convert to hybrid warping on a rigid heddle loom, I feel like I've literally made all the mistakes. I wanted to share those mistakes and my tips with you so that you don't have to go through this yourselves. So here is my top 6 tips for hybrid warping on a rigid heddle loom. Number 1, clamp down your warping board. This may seem a bit obvious, but I initially thought because there was rubber stoppers on the bottom of the warp that it wouldn't need clamping, but I soon realised that it did. It doesn't need to cost the earth. These clamps cost me less than $10 from my local hardware store. Also, just make sure that you clamp it down fairly firmly because there is tension, especially when you remove your warp threads from the warping board. Number 2, use a leader to work out the pattern and the length of warp that you need. Use scrap yarn like cotton and use yarn that doesn't stretch, so don't use wool or acrylic or anything that's going to stretch. You can use a ball of cotton and mark out the end with a simple loop so that you can reuse the cotton. That means that you don't waste any. Or you can actually keep it and then label it for future projects that might need the same length. So for example, I always do 3 towels when I do towels, so I'm keeping the length of warp that I need for my warping board for 3 towels. Also, just as a word of caution, make sure that you allow enough for any gap between towels and also any waste, so at the beginning and the end of your project. Then all you need to do is work out whatever pattern that you need to get the length that you need. I always start and finish from the heddle as well, and that just gives me a little bit more of a buffer. Number 3, don't try and pull both sides of the loop through. It will end up being too hard to pull through by the time you get not even halfway through your pattern, and you'll end up with too much or too little. Find the anchored part of the loop and place one side of the loop on the warping board, one side at a time. So go up with one side, loop at the end, and come down the other side. Just watch here for how that actually looks like. Number 4, you won't always get the whole warp on one warping board, so when it's full, use a crochet chain to secure a section and pull it off, and then start again with your next section. I did try, and you'll see here in the video, trying to get an entire warp on the warping board, but it ended up making winding on so messy. I had tension problems, so it's just not worth it. So to do a crochet chain, I don't cut the loops until I've actually threaded everything on. So grab the loop, put it around your wrist, and then holding the other 2 sections, pull it through, and just keep doing that for until you're up near the heddle. So have a look here on how I do it, and yeah, enjoy. Number 5, don't cross the warp. This may seem obvious to others, but it clearly wasn't for me. How I got myself into this mess was I was trying to do both ends of the heddle exactly the same, because I was kind of making up this one as I went along. So I just did the opposite side on a different pattern, and then kind of went one side, the other side, the other side, the other side. In my mind, I thought this would all come apart really easily, but it did not, and it was an absolute nightmare to unravel. So here's the best piece of advice: don't cross the warp. Number 6, for tension, tug on the yarn as you wind on, or even better, use a warp tensioning device. I bought everything I need to do this for under 45 Australian, and it just was a game changer. I can't believe that I waited this long to do a warp tensioning device. I'll link that video at the end of this one if anyone wants to have a look at it. But apart from that, tensioning is just as simple as keeping everything the same as you wind on. So the best way is the warp tensioning device. Other than that, just tug on the yarn as you pull through. Also, you might get a little bit of bunching up behind the heddle. Just pull those through and straighten those up as you wind on, and that will end up being fine. Final thoughts. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope this gives you confidence to try hybrid warping yourself. But now go forth and hybrid warp. There is no excuse now for not doing those bigger projects that you've been putting off because you've been wondering about the warping. So you can do a set of 8, 10, 12 placemats on one warp, 6, 8, 10 kitchen towels, or 15 washcloths, or as I will be doing, projects such as clothing for my 2024 slow fashion goals. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, if you found this helpful, please like the video so that others can find it. Also, if you're comfortable, please subscribe, and that will help me bring more content and helpful stuff to you in the future. Thanks everyone.